Our readings today talk an awful lot about trust in the Lord, and following Jesus requires a tremendous amount of trust because he often takes us to unexpected places that require new growth, sometimes difficult sacrifices that move beyond our boundaries of what's familiar and comfortable to us. Consider the two widows in today's first reading and the gospel reading. How could they possibly give what common sense says they could not afford? Did they know with total certainty that God would take care of their needs? No. So they gave all they had because they trusted his love for them. It's interesting. I know that you all know that I work in prison, and prison has taught me a lot of valuable lessons. And one of them, I've said it before, the hardest thing for me after all these years in prison, I've had to learn to love people I don't like. And our freedom to love others unconditionally is not based on how safe we are with them. It's based on how safe we are with God. Each widow gave what she could not afford to lose. The poor widow is a great example of trust. She was near starving and gave her last bit of flour to a visitor, the prophet Elijah, who informed her that she should make him a cake before she laid down to die of starvation with her son. Wow, that's pretty bold. But she did as she was asked, and she made Elijah that cake. In return, she was rewarded with a miracle of this bottomless flour jar, which sustained her and her son until the rains came to nourish the crops again. Well, I have some good news and bad news here. The good news is that we're not going to ask today for your last bit of flour. The bad news is that we want so much more than that. Let's be honest. We serve a God who wants everything. Hope there's no mistake about that. We serve a God who wants everything. He wants everything we are and everything we have. He wants our very souls. So we're asking this week for open minds and open hearts to hear this message that might change the way you think about church and discipleship. Now, the easy response is, can't I just write a check for that? The answer is no. If you remember last week, we talked about our personal responsibility from baptism and the mandate from the gospel to be disciples and to make disciples. And that's why our pastor, Father Don, is leading St. Peter in a new direction as a missionary disciple parish with a renewed call to love God, love others, and make disciples. And that's why we started using the phrase last year, don't just go to church, be the church. Brothers and sisters in Christ, you are not a consumer. You might be a consumer when you go to Walmart, but not when you walk in the doors here. When you just go to church, you treat the church like you are a consumer with specific expectations of what you're going to get out of it when you walk in the door. We show up once a week, and we expect certain things. Good music, a great homily, someone to teach the kids about our Catholic faith, some sacraments here and there over the years. And basically, in light of that, we give relatively nothing in return, other than the time it takes to sit in the pew and write a few checks to keep the air conditioner on. My friends, that's going to church. When we actually are the church, a true missionary discipleship church, what we are called to be, we view our church very differently. We begin to see that we truly are the church, and we recognize each other as brothers and sisters in ministry with a job to do, with a mission to be disciples, and then to make disciples. We come here on Sunday to offer and share what we have with our brothers and sisters, to share the Word, to share prayer, to share our experiences and our encouragement. But most important, to receive Jesus in the Eucharist as a family, to strengthen and support us for the ministry at hand, for the job that we need to do. In our parish in Nantucket, when we leave, we call that our sending song. We're sent. It's not goodbye, see you next week. You know, there's a mission there. We want you to become part of this vision and ministry. And it's not about money. It's about accepting your rightful role through baptism as a disciple of Jesus Christ. We're asking you to trust in God like the poor widow in the first reading and the poor widow in the gospel. They both had everything to lose, but they gave all they had in faith, in trust. They gave their next meal, their last meal, their savings, their entire lives to God. They put their trust in Him. Well, how do we begin anyway? How do we get these fallen away Catholics and these Gen Xers that I talked about last week and these millennials here? Well, one obvious answer is to ask them. And some of us have already tried that without a lot of success. Because without prayer and a well thought out plan, we really won't see much success. Prayer is very powerful. It works. So we ask you to start praying, especially this week, for a lot of things. And I'll get into that because I want you to yourself and be honest with yourself and God. But we want you to start praying every day for the success of this mission, to bring these people back to church. We must also be part of the invitation ourselves, even if we weren't the ones that invited, by creating a welcoming experience for people who come, for everyone who joins us. Each one of us has to be welcoming and have a ready smile and a non-judgmental attitude. Some of these guests, once we get started, might not dress the way most of us do. Maybe we'll see some strange hairdos, perhaps some strange tattoos, different attitudes toward religion that perhaps we haven't seen before. Some visitors might be confused about our rituals and what we do here and not quite know what to do. But you must remember this, that Jesus sent them, or they wouldn't have come. You may have invited, but Jesus sent them. And if you look with an open heart, I promise you, you will see in them the face of Jesus. Honestly, I know that because I see the face of Jesus in all the inmates I serve in the prison. He's there. He's real. But you got to look with an open heart and acceptance. Now, the only way this works, and the only way that you can invite someone to this church, is if you see yourself as the church and you feel a sense of ownership, a sense of pride, a sense of discipleship, a sense of ministry. Well, invite them to that church, the one that you have pride in and the one that you feel that you own. That's the church you want to invite them to meet your family, the rest of us. And then we have to be ready to accept and be welcoming. In prayer, be honest with yourself and God. And I mentioned that a little earlier. This week, pray about the success of this mission. But I'd ask you to do this. Pray for yourself and pray about yourself. Be honest with yourself and God about how you see your own relationship with the church. Are you the church, or are you just a consumer? Be truthful. Talk to God about that. We want you involved in this mission. We, the church, need you as part of the team because you are the church. We'd ask you to sign up and serve in one of our many ministries and get involved in one of our small groups. There'll be more about that next week. And remember, don't just go to church, be the church. God bless you.